Yes, Prabhuji.
Correction. We'll continue with verse number 12. Tadvidbadbir asadvrutto venosmabi kruto nrupa Santvito yadi no vacham na grahishyanti adharmakrit.
There is one more line for the shloka.
The next two lines added in the next. Okay. Loka dikkara sangdagdam dahishyama swatejasa.
The saintly sages continued thinking, of course, we are completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet, nevertheless, we enthroned Vena. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes.
Yeah, this is how they determined. If he does not listen to us, we will dethrone him. If he does not accept to it, we will destroy him. So in that way, we made him the king, though we knew that he was sinful. If after being advised by us, if he does not accept our words, with our powers, we will burn that sinner already condemned by the public criticism. So in that way. So the sages were determined what to do next, what will be the next course of action. So we appointed him, knowing he was sinful, but he is actually troubling us only. So then what to speak of the ordinary people? For the benefit of ourselves and ordinary people, we will do the needful like that. The sages goes to the king, and now they begin to speak to the king, for which the king replies very harshly. Unable to tolerate that harsh reply, the sages immediately burn him by chanting Humkara mantra. So that is what is mentioned in the upcoming verses.
Chanting Omkara.
Humkara. We will see what is that. So Prabhupada writes, generally the saintly persons are not interested in political matters, yet they are always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. The sages are interested in the welfare of the people in general. May not be politically, but in general. Spiritually, they always want to train people in general and they want to help them to spiritually progress. But whenever there is some political issue, they will also take care of that. So that is what is indicated here. Consequently, they sometimes have to come down to the political field and take steps to correct the misguided government or royalty. However, in Kali Yuga, saintly persons are not as powerful as they were previously. They used to be able to burn any sinful man to ashes by virtue of their spiritual prowess. Now, saintly persons have no such powers due to the influence of the age of Kali. Indeed, the Brahmanas do not even have the power to perform sacrifices in which animals are put into a fire to attain a new life. Under these circumstances, instead of actively taking part in politics, saintly persons should engage in chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, by simply chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the general populace can derive all benefit without political implications.
Convince the mass to chant it.
First, let us convince ourselves.
Somehow completing 16 months.
Yeah. Evam adyavasayinam munayo guda manyava upavrajya bruvam venam santva samabhi.
The great sages,
having this decided, approached King Vena. Considering their real anger, they pacified him with sweet words and then spoke and spoke.
Having decided in this way, the sages hiding their anger, they were actually angry with the king, but they controlled their anger. Then approached the king with a gentle demeanor and spoke to him after pacifying him with sweet words. Santva itvasa samabhi. We have 4 ways of reconciliation. Sama, Beda, Dana, Danda. Sama is basically by glorifying them. Veda He is like telling them what to do, what not to do, discrimination. Dana is by offering gifts. If these three does not work, then danda. Huh?
It is dharma, it's not dana.
Dama? Okay. Dama
is in one kind of punishment.
Not exactly punishment. Dama is control.
Control.
Yeah, by the control. So you cannot do like this, putting a strong control, something like that. And then if does not listen, then punishment. So first they are going to start with Sama. So very first verse is very what sages have come for, what they are doing. Munaya uchu Nupavarya nibodaita dyat. So say that. Nupavarya nibodaita yatte vijñapayama bho Ayushri balakirtinam tava tata vivardanam.
The great sages said, Dear king, we have come to you to give good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase.
Yeah, they are telling that we have come here to award you blessings. This is a Sama. Best of kings. They are calling him as Nrupavarya, oh best of the kings. Actually glorifying him so that he will listen, something like that. Dear sir, Tata, they are actually calling him as my dear son. Please understand what we will reveal to you. You will have increase of life, increase of wealth, increase of strength, and increase of fame. Tava, Ayu, Sri, Bala, Kirtinam, Vivardhanam. All these four things will increase if you listen to us. If you don't listen to us, all these four things will decrease. So indirectly they are telling that. You will have long life, great wealth, physical and mental strength, and great fame if you follow what we say. Otherwise, you will be bereft of all these things. Indirectly, they are indicating that. Then they say that Dharma acharita pumsham van manakaya buddhibhi lokan vishokan vitarati atanantyam asanginam.
Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are alleviated to heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life.
Yeah, here they are actually saying that those who follow Dharma, they are eventually promoted to heaven. Those who don't follow Dharma, they will go to hell, Naraka. So previous verse was about Sama. Now Beda. By doing what one will get? They say that when men perform Dharma, Dharma acharita pumsha. How? By words, by one's mind, by one's body, and by one's intelligence. Vak mana kaya buddhi. The whole world become free from misery. Lokan vishokam vitarati. Because in society, maximum people performing Dharma, rest will also follow. Generally. And especially if king is dharmic, the entire country will become dharmic. So in that way. And for those without attachment, ata asanginam, there is liberation. For those who are practicing Varna Sandhana properly, they will go to Swarga. And if they don't have any attachment for Swarga happiness, they will become qualified to attain liberation by practicing Dharma properly. So in that way.
Says that this Striya, Vaishya Shudra can attain the Paramgati. Striya by default cannot practice the way the men are practicing the spiritual life. They have to follow the Varnashram Dharma. For the females, I'm saying. So even Krishna assures there that by following the Varnashram Dharma, the Stris can go back to God, can attain the reflection. Is it not? Or do we have to take a male body and then practice? Is it that?
There are two explanations to this. One explanation for this verse, generally I say like this. I also need to inquire with some senior devotees what is their opinion about this understanding. The first understanding is the word Sri is used here is not for the Sri who is protected. The Sri who is left without protection means the woman who is not with the caretaker, husband especially. When husband is there, whatever husband does, 50% will come to the wife. She don't have to do extensively separately. She just has to support the husband, that's all. It is men who go to Gurukul, study the Vedas and all, they come home, they follow, they practice, the wife will assist. That's enough for her. If the man is a devotee, the wife will automatically follow the husband. But in that case, when the women are not having any shelter, any protector, even they also, by following a spiritual master, by following the path of bhakti, they will also come back home back to Godhead. So basically, this may appears to be very very bad. Like Arjuna says in the first chapter, when there is no protector in the family, when there are no elders, the woman will be exploited. There will be Varna Sankara. The same way, when the woman is not protected, there will be like they will be deviated to other things, religious activities. So they will have no hope. One may say like that, but even they also surrender themselves instead of taking to the path of the adharma. They surrender to Lord and practice bhakti. They can go back home back to Godhead.
So
Because Striya, Vaishya, Tata, Sudra. They are the women, the Vaishya and Shudra, who are not so much inclined to practice the rules and regulations of Vedas. But in spite of that, if they take to it, if they take to the path of bhakti, they will come to spiritual world very easily. Then what to speak of the Kimpuna, Brahmana, Vipra, Rajarshi, Tata. Then what to speak of the Brahmanas, Vipras and Rajarshi? They obviously inclined. They will practice, they will come to spiritual world without any problem. Anityam asukam loke imprape bhajastamam. So that is understanding. Because these people do not have inclination to practice bhakti, but if at all, by developing some desire to practice bhakti, if they do, they will quickly come to bhakti. They will come back to spiritual world. That is the potency of bhakti. So here the potency of bhakti is glorified here in these verses.
understood. So in the current scenario, if we see, if by default, Kaliyuga, not many men, they practice spiritual life, okay? So now, as a female, if we are practicing it, but the family members are not practicing, so what is our...
Practice करने का बस उतना ही.
That's it.
करते रहने का. Men or female, women, no difference. सब कुछ कर सबको करने पड़ेगा. In the past, by default, the family culture is like that. They're supposed to practice. They will practice. But now things are different. So we need to force ourselves to practice. So in that way. So at least current circumstances, men and women, there's no difference. Both are doing all the things. So in that way, one need to work on.
So ultimately, it is your individual endeavor only. It's not that you're dependent on something.
In the past, obviously, the both work together always, wife and husband. So if husband does something, wife would get 50% of it. If wife does something, husband will get 50% of it.
No, it doesn't happen that way.
In the sense, if wife assists husband, husband can do things easily. Without the assistance, how can he do? In that sense, he's 50% getting benefited with the assistance. So in that way. If that principle is followed today also, same things we can applicable, same things are applicable today also. So in that way. So this is one meaning. Otherwise, generally they say that women, Sriya, Vaishya, Sudra, this is like a very bad thing. They say that women are less intelligent, all these things. So even though they also, the women who are not qualified to read the Vedas, they don't have text, not qualified, they are not required to read the Vedas. The women who, instead of spending their energy in reading the Vedas and trying to understand, if they simply practice bhakti, they'll come back to me. In that way, Lord is telling. But not required.
I'm not talking about from Varnashram perspective. I'm talking about bhakti perspective only.
See, when we say Vedas means truly Vedas, not Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. Vedas means 4 Vedas and Upanishads, all those things. That study. That is the main study of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas when they go to Gurukul. They have to study for 10 12 years. That is not required for the women. So from that point of view, apparently from the cultural point of view, they are not qualified to study. But in spite of that, they can practice bhakti and go back to Godhead without having the effort of reading the Vedas. But for men, it is default. They need to study. The three, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, when they go to Gurukul, they need to study the Vedas. If not full, some part. Brahmanas are supposed to study full. Kshatriyas maybe more than 50%, Vaishyas maybe less than 50%. They need to work hard. That is laid off for women.
That's right. However, in current scenario, not the men are studying the scriptures. Okay. But they are, like, suppose if you are talking about the devotees, they are studying the essence of the scriptures, which is Bhagavatam. So which is good enough? Good enough.
So we don't have to boast ourselves like Brahmanas. If we boast ourselves as a Brahmana, we need to study the Vedas. So don't boast as a Brahmana and just be quiet and be calm and be humble and do the needful. So in that
I'm not Brahmana in this Yuga.
I'm generally just as a humor I'm saying. Not like because Janmane Jati Sudra Samskaret Bhavet Dvija Veda Part Abhyaset Vipra Brahma Janati the Brahmana. For a person to be called as Brahmana, they should know the essence of the Vedas. That is Brahman. The essence of the Vedas is in the absolute truth that is mentioned in the Veda Sutra. They should come to that point, reading through the Vedas and coming to Brahma Sutras. Then they can be qualified to be called as Brahmanas. Otherwise, not just by birth. They need to go through power training. So in that way.
But ultimately, again, the 15:15 says that what is to be known from the Vedas is me, Krishna says. So if we know Krishna, again, you would say Tattvatam. Means we know.
No, we don't know.
I'm the same.
We don't know. Hare Krishna. Online devotees, any questions?
Actually, I'm confused regarding where means I was trying to search in the verse that where the words three and this has come up. Like I couldn't get
That
it.
9th chapter, one of the last verses, Bhagavad Gita.
That is Bhagavad Gita, but how we are correlating that to here? Like,
No, Mataji asked a question out of blue. Some general question she asked.
There was some connection here.
So there is liberation for those with no material desires. For Asanginam, if they perform their Varnashrama duties with full dedication, they will become qualified to attain liberation also. So this is what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter also. Yata pravrittir bhutanam ena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. Men achieve success by worshipping the Lord, who is the origin of all entities and is spread everywhere, through mentally offering their prescribed duties unto the Supreme Lord. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. By executing one's own varnashrama duties, when people in general perform the worship of the Supreme Lord, they will attain perfection. Either in the form of going to Swarga or in the form of going to Brahman, or some of the fortunate people in the form of going to Vaikuntha. In that way. Sahajna praja srushta purovacha prajapati anena prasavisyadvam yeshavosti ishta kamaduk. Lord Krishna again says in 3rd chapter, Brahma, having created the population along with the sacrifice, long ago spoke, may you prosper by this sacrifice. May it fulfill all your material desires. After creating all the living entities, Brahma also created the path of sacrifice. By performing sacrifice, both the men and devatas become prosperous and they live comfortably. So like that, the yajna is one of the integral part of our lifestyle. So in order to show that the sages are yajna, you cannot tell that if you don't perform yajna, you will go to hell. So they are using the tactic of Veda. Sama ho gaya abhi Veda. Tatema vinasedvira prajanam kshema lakshana yasmim vinaste nrupatir aishwaryad avarohati.
the sages continued, O great hero, for this reason, you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace. If their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position.
Yeah. O hero, kindly do not destroy that dharma, basically varnashrama duties, which brings benefit to the citizens. If dharma is destroyed, the people will go to hell, as well as the king will fall from his position and go to hell. So now Brahmana said that, my dear king, not only we go to hell, even you also come to hell. Tama, Beda, Dama.
In one sense,
They are actually creating fear in him. If you don't follow this, you will go to hell. That is like big fear invoking factor. Yes, Shastra Vidhi Mustrujja Vartate Kama Karata. Nasasiddhim avapnoti na sukam na param gatim. He who giving up the rules of the scriptures, acts according to his own whims, does not attain perfection, nor happiness, or the supreme goal of going back to Godhead. So like that, they are actually indicating to the king what he is supposed to do, what he is not supposed to do. As a king, he is responsible to make sure that people are performing dharma, and he himself is practicing dharma. And he is not allowing people to perform dharma, and he himself is not practicing dharma. And they say that as a result of that, people will go to hell. You also will go to hell. They are trying to invoke fear in him. Rajan asadu amatyebhyas चोरादिभ्या प्रजा नृपा रक्षन् यथा बलिं गृह्णन् इह प्रेत्या च मोदते.
The saintly persons continued, when the king protects the citizens from the disturbances of mischievous ministers, as well as from the thieves and rogues, he can, by virtue of such pious activities, accept taxes given by his subjects. Thus, a pious king can certainly enjoy himself in this world as well as in the life after death.
Yeah. O king, the Nrupa Rakshan Praja, the king protects the citizens. From whom? From Choradibi, from the thieves and others, and also from the corrupt ministers, from the corrupt local governance body, and accepts taxes accordingly. Because king is providing, protecting them from the religious men, and also providing favorable circumstances. For that, the king will get some tax, and with that tax, the king enjoys in this world and also enjoys in the next world. If king performs his duty properly, he will get prosperity in this life, and he will go to Swarga at the end of this life, and he will get enjoyment there also. So again, they are telling, they are actually proposing, if you follow dharma, what will happen to you? They are telling. So in that way. Yasya rashtre pure chaiva bhagavan yajna purusha ijjate svena dharmena janair varnashramanvitai.
The king is supposed to be pious, and in whose state and cities, the general populace strictly observe the system of 8 social orders of Varna and Ashrama, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations.
In such a king's state and cities, the Supreme Lord, Master of Sacrifices, is worshipped by the people, executing their individual duties according to Varnashrama. Ata Pumbir Dvijashreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha. Swanushita Dharmasya Samsiddhim Haritoshanam. The purpose of performing Varnashrama is to worship Lord Vishnu. If the ruler is proper, if he provides proper facilities, the people will worship Lord Vishnu and perfect their lives. So in that way. So in a proper governance, the people are always absorbed in performing their Varnashrama duties. Varnashrama Anvita or Varnashramatma. So in that way. Svesve karmani abhirata samsiddhim labate nara. Swakarma nirata siddhim yata vinit tashtunu. Lord Krishna says in the 18th chapter again. man achieves complete success being engaged in his particular varnashrama duties. Here, how one attains success by engagement in one's duties. So, engaging in one's own varnashrama duties, one attains complete success eventually. For which the king is supposed to provide the suitable, favorable circumstances. So, in that way. Even Prabhupada says that further in the next verse also Prabhupada quotes. Yata pravrittir bhutana mena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim minnati manava. So by worshipping Lord Vishnu, by the performance of their varnashrama duties, one will attain perfection. So in that way. Tasya rajno mahabhaga bhagavan bhuta bhavana paritushyati vishwatma tishtato nija shasane.
O noble one, if the king sees that the supreme personality of God is the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, and the super soul within everyone is worshipped, the Lord will be satisfied.
Simple. O fortunate king, the supreme Lord, the protector of the entire people, entire kingdom, Bhuta Bhavan, all the living entities, who is the soul of the entire universe, Vishwatma, is satisfied with the king who follows Lord's instruction. Tishtato nija shasane. The supreme Lord will be very easily pleased by those kings who follow his instructions. You remember what was that in the third chapter, first verse? Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, first verse. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshe vidu sakalene mata yogo nashta parantapa. This is the second verse. In the first verse, Lord Krishna says,
Fourth chapter.
okay, this is fourth chapter. Fourth chapter. Imam vivashvate yogam proktava naham aveyam. Vivashvan manave praha mano rikshvaku abravit. So in the beginning, I spoke this to sun god. And sun god spoke to his son, Vaivashvat Manu. He spoke to his son Ikshvaku. Like that, one after the other, the knowledge is coming down. Following that knowledge, people attain their perfection. So the Lord becomes very much pleased if somebody follows his instructions. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita very elaborately. If we follow it, Lord will be pleased with us also. Because we are following his instructions directly. Then what else we want? Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Aham Tam Sarvabhibhi Mokshishya Masya. He said that surrender unto me, follow me. So something like that. So this point actually irritates the Vena. Said that Lord will be pleased by following what he said. Vena becomes very angry. His anger will be mentioned in the couple of verses later.
I was wondering the same thing, that till now he's keeping quiet.
When he responds, it is very strong. Tasmim tushte kim aprapyam jagatam ishwareshware loka sapala etasmai haranti balimadrita.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the great demigods, controllers of universal affairs. When he is satisfied, nothing is impossible to achieve. For this reason, all the demigods, residing deities of different planets, as well as the inhabitants of their planets, take great pleasure in offering all kinds of paraphernalia for his worship.
Yeah. If the Lord is pleased, what cannot be achieved in this universe? If the Lord is pleased, all beings and the devatas offer tribute to the Lord, Lord of the Lords, with a great respect. If the Lord is pleased, what cannot be attained in this world? So with this understanding, all the people of this entire world and all the devatas continuously worship the Supreme Lord for their own benefit. So my dear king, for the benefit of the people of the kingdom, for the benefit of yourself, kindly worship the Supreme Lord. This is the further continuation of the previous text. Then they say something more, which is agitating to King Vena. Tam sarva lokamara yajna sangraham त्रयीमयं द्रव्यमयं तपोमयं यज्ञैर्विचित्रै यजतो भवायते राजन् स्वदेशान् अनुरोधुमर्हसि.
Dear King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with the predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices in all planets. The Supreme Lord is the sum total of the three Vedas, the owner of everything, and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for your elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them towards the offering of sacrifices.
Here they are going one step ahead. O king, for your benefit, you should entreat your citizens to worship through various sacrifices the Supreme Lord, who accept the sacrifices for attaining the Devatas and their planets, who is the three Vedas, who is the all ingredients of sacrifice, and who is all austerities. Says that for your benefit, for the benefit of the citizens, so that they will, you and the citizens will eventually go to Swarga and experience more prosperity. You should allow the people to perform yajna, in which they will worship the Devatas, they will worship the Supreme Lord, so that they will attain Swarga and other things, Swarga and Apavarga, etc. etc. So, like that, they told. You should allow people to perform yajna, so that they will be benefited and you will be benefited. You should entreat the citizens to be worshippers of Supreme Lord Vishnu, so that you become prosperous. Not only they, but you also become prosperous. Why? Because Lord Vishnu is the master of the yajnas. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhurevacha. I am the enjoyer and the master of all the sacrifices that one performs. So here the Vena becomes more angry. Finally, the sages say last verse, Yagnena yushmad vishaye dvijadibir Vitayamanena shura kalahare Sishta sutushta pradishanti vanchitam Taddelanam narhasi vira chestitum.
When all the Brahmanas engage in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods who are plenary expansions of the Lord will be very much satisfied by their activities and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods.
This verse is like the tip of the iceberg. The last thing which Vena could not take it. Says that the Devatas, who are the different portions of Supreme Lord Vishnu, will be properly worshipped and become very satisfied by sacrifice performed by the Brahmanas in your kingdom. And those satisfied Devatas will give whatever you desire. O hero, you should not disrespect them. You should allow the worship of the Devatas by the performance of Yajna. When they are satisfied, they will give you whatever you want. Now Vena thinking that, who are they to give me? I can give them whatever they want. And why should I worship them to get something from them? This he could not tolerate, he could not take it. Then he responds very strongly. So here we can see one more verse from 3:11. What is the importance of worshipping Devatas? Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu ya parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapyasa. By that sacrifice, Lord Krishna continuing after Sayagnya verse, please the Devatas and the Devatas will please you. Being mutually pleased, you will all attain the highest benefit. By the performance of Yajna, Devatas are pleased because they are getting their food. Then they send forth rain, by which you will get your food. So both will be nourished and satisfied and protected. Otherwise, Ishtan bhogan hi wo deva dasyante yajna bhavita Dattana pratayibhyo yobung testena evasa. The devatas pleased with the sacrifice will bestow on you your desired enjoyment. He who enjoys what is given by the devatas without offering back to the devatas is indeed a thief. One is only receiving but not offering anything in response to gratitude. They are only thieves. They are only eating, accepting. So one day they stop giving. Then there will be starvation. So in that way. This is what here the sages are indicating. You should worship. You should allow the people to perform yajna. You should allow brahmanas to perform yajna, by which the devas are replaced, and they will provide whatever we need, by which we become prosperous, and the devatas will become satisfied. So in that way. Now Vena responds very strongly. Hare Krishna, any questions till now? Devotees online?
No problem. Thank you very much.
Okay. बालिशाबत यूयं वा अधर्मे धर्ममानिना ये वृत्ति दंपतिं हित्वा जारं पतिं उपासते.
King Vena replied, "You are not at all experienced. It is very much regrettable that you are maintaining something which is not religious and are accepting it as religious. Indeed, I think you are giving up your real husband who maintains you and are searching after some paramour to worship."
This is how he responds. Oh fools, you accept what is adharma as dharma? When I saying that, you people are speaking adharma as dharma, that worship Vishnu, worship devatas, that is our adharma. Giving up the real husband who maintains you, you are telling me to worship an illicit lover? Jaram patim. So he is telling that, instead of speaking that I should be worshipped, you are telling me to worship the devatas and Vishnu? What is this? I am your master, I am maintaining you. All of you are supposed to worship me, your husband, and you are telling me to, you are worshipping somebody else and telling me to worship also somebody else. So like that. I am your maintainer. If I forbid you to pluck fruits or roots from the trees, you will immediately die. Because of my compassion upon all of you are still surviving. Kindly have good sense of understanding who is maintaining you, etc. Adharme dharma manena. That is what Vena is telling. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? Adharmam dharmamiti yamanyate tamasa avruta sarvartan viparitamscha buddhi sapartha tamasi. The people in the mode of ignorance, what kind of understanding they have? What kind of intelligence they have? That intelligence is in tamoguna, by which one considers adharma to be dharma and dharma to be adharma, and seeth all things contrary to the truth. He sees only opposite thing. That is what Vena is doing now. He's telling that you yourself are doing adharma and telling me to do the adharma. What is this? So something like that. And next verse again similar to Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti yami muda drupa rupinam ishwaram nanu vindanti te badram iha loke paratracha. Please.
Those who, out of gross ignorance, do not worship the King, who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, experience happiness neither in this world nor in the world after death.
Avajananti mamuda manusham deham ashrita. Parambhava majananto mamabhuta maheshwaram. Same thing. Fools who disrespect the Lord in the form of the King. He's saying that fools who disrespect the Supreme Lord in the form of the King cannot enjoy happiness in this life or in the next life. Because in the previous verse they said that if you allow people to perform yajna, they'll become prosperous now and they will go to Swarga and experience more prosperity. And he's telling that, yes, I am saying the same thing. I am saying the real dharma. I am the Supreme Lord. If you don't worship me, the Supreme Lord, you will have neither happiness in this life nor happiness in the next life. ये शास्त्र विधि मुसृज्य वर्तते कामकारता न सिद्धिम आप्नोति न सुखम न param gatim. As Krishna says in the, if you don't follow the scriptural injunctions, perform activities according to your own whims, you will neither get siddhi now, sukha now, or going back to God in next life. Here Vena is also very same. If you don't worship me, you will neither happy in this life nor happy in the next life.
It is always seen, no, Prabhuji, that means those who are of the negative mentality, they will always have their own reasons to justify what they are doing. Even in today's world, we
Yes.
see that one party does something, the opposing party will say something, but they have their own reasons why they are doing. So they
May
remain in
not
that.
be in terms of the political parties, but in terms of the philosophers, you see, every philosopher has something to say about their own philosophy to be supreme.
Yeah.
So when they want to promote their own ideas in the name of philosophy, they have so many excuses to support their own ideology. So in that way. So here
Yeah.
Vena is proposing his own philosophy.
So much means we can see that the ignorance is so deep in him that he's actually considering himself as supreme.
No, it is not ignorance. He can understand. He is coming from Adharma lineage, na? So this is the way Adharma functions.
So adharma will be in mode of ignorance only, no, Prabhu?
Of ignorance only. But this is how we have to see Adharma functions. Huh? Of course. He is coming from Adharma lineage. He is given the position also. And he has got double support. So now the next verse is interesting verse. Ko yajna purusho nama yatra vo bhaktiridrishi bhartrisneha viduranam yata jare kuyoshitam.
You are so much devoted to the demigods, but who are they? Indeed, your affection for these demigods is exactly like an affection of an unchaste woman who neglects her married life and gives all attention to her paramour.
Who is the master of the sacrifice for whom you show devotion like the devotion of unchaste women who give up affection for her husbands but for a paramour? So like that. He's actually scolding the Brahmanas, saying that since I am your real husband, all of you are supposed to be surrendering unto me. Instead, you are surrendering unto Devatas, like the unchaste women surrendering unto paramour. It's like that. That's what he says. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surudam Sarvabhutanam Jnatvam Shantimi Pruchati. Those who know the Lord as the Lord of the Yajnas, Lord of the entire world, and consisting of so many lokas, and the benefactor of every living entity, will eventually attain liberation. Shanti Muchiti means liberation. But here, against, exactly opposite, our Vena is saying. Aham yi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhure vacha natumam avijanati tatve nataschavanti te. There Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am the enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Those who do not know me in truth like this, they will fall down. And Vena is the same thing. What are you speaking? I am the Lord of the Yajna. You are supposed to worship me. What devatas are you talking about? Talking about devatas is like looking after a paramour, something like that. And now, he firmly convinced, he says that, how I am the master of the Yajna. This verse is very interesting. Vishnur Virincho Girisha Indro Vayurya Moravi Parjanyo Dandana Dasoma Kshitir Agnir Apampatim Ete Channe Cha Vibuddha Prabhavo Varasapayo Dehe Bhavantin Nrupeta Sarva Dehamayo Nrupa.
Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, Vayu, the master of air, Yama, the superintendent of death, the sun god, the director of rainfall, Kuvera, the treasurer, the moon god, the predominating deity of the earth, Agni, the fire god, Varuna, the lord of waters, and all others who are great and competent to bestow benedictions or to curse. All abide in the body of the king. For this reason, the king is known as the reservoir of all demigods, who are simply parts and parcels of the king's body.
Yeah. How he is changing the philosophy, see. Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Vayu, Yama, Surya, rain god, Kuvera, the moon god, earth deity, Agni, Varuna, and all other devatas competent to bestow benedictions or curses reside in the body of the king. The king is the composite of all the devatas. He's telling that you don't have to go here and there to worship devatas. Every devata is there in the body of the king. If you worship king, it is as good as worshipping all the devatas. Yata taror moola nishechanena trupyen tatkanda bhujopa shaka. Pranopahara cha tatendriyanam sarvarhanam achyuteja. And that's what Bhagavatam says. If you worship Vishnu, the worship of all the devatas is taken care. Here he is saying the same thing. If you worship king, if you worship me, the worship of all the devatas is taken care. You don't have to go separately and worship them separately.
See, I heard once, I'm not citing Vena here, but I've heard this, that king is the direct representative of Supreme Design of God. So king has to be respected. Not
How
that we are
how and why? Good question. I wanted to tell that only, but how and why? Any reflections from devotees online? How and why the king is represented as Supreme Lord?
If he is in alignment with whatever principle the Lord has given, then he is the representative.
Okay, thank you. Other devotees? Wait. Any thoughts? How and why the king is the representative of Supreme Lord?
This is Supreme Lord maintains all the prajas. It is the duty of the king to take care of all the citizens.
Okay, good. You come to the Brahma's duty is to create. Shiva's duty is to destroy. Lord Vishnu's duty is to maintain. He maintained the entire universe with the help of the devatas. He maintained the Bhuloka with the help of the king. It is the Supreme Lord who empowered the king on his behalf to maintain the entire citizens on the earth. So in that way, he is the representative of the. Yeah. So in that way, the king is supposed to be maintaining. So since the devatas are supposed to maintain 3 planetary systems, and they, in the form of a king, maintain the Bhuloka. So in that way, it is said that the devatas reside in the body of the king. That is a Vedic verdict only. It is there in the Vedas. He read the Vedas. He said that the devatas are there in me. So you worship me, it will be taking care of their worship.
Come
हाँ, ज़्यादा extreme हो गया.
on.
Yeah. So that is understanding. Asman mam karma birvipra yajadvam gatamastara balimcha mayam harata matto anyakogra bhukkuman. Please read.
King Vena continued, for this reason, O Brahmanas, you should abandon your envy of me, and by your ritualistic activities, you should worship me and offer me all paraphernalia. If you are intelligent, you should know that there is no deity superior to me who can accept the first oblations of all sacrifices.
Therefore, without envy, Gata Mastara, do not have any envy towards me. Don't think that I am envious of all of you. I am unnecessarily speaking so many things. You should worship me by your rituals. Bring the offerings unto me. Who except me is the first to enjoy the offerings? I am the Agrabuk. Lord Krishna offered Agra Puja in Jalaji's sacrifice. Yajnartat karmano annetra lokoyam karma bandhana. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, perform all activities and offering to Lord Yajna, it's Vishnu. Otherwise, one is bound. Here, king is saying same thing. You perform all your activities and offering unto me. Otherwise, you will be bound. Tadarthan karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. It's like that. So he stopped. My dear Brahmanas, all of you tell me to perform, allow me to perform yajna. I'm saying same thing. Perform yajna. Who is stopping you? All the devatas are in me. Worship me. I am the yajna purusha. Worship me. Done.
Prabhuji, because of taking birth in the adharma lineage, is it that the genes are only like that, that they perceive the whole Vedic philosophy in deviated manner like this?
Yes. It is simply a factor of envy. Why would Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna does not allow the Brahmanas to perform yajnas? Because they want to proclaim their superiority, their supremacy. They
Yeah,
cannot tolerate somebody else superior to being to them.
it is not that they are illiterate or ignorant, because even Hiranyakashipu, when Hiranyaksha died, whatever philosophy he explained to his family members, he is very well versed with all the Vedic truths. But it is that whatever they perceive out of it is they take it in a deviated manner, so that in spite of reading and studying all those things, it is of no use to them.
No, Hiranyakashipu's philosophy, there is about Atma only. The distinction between Atma and body. It does not talk about the Supreme Lord. If you carefully read it.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Does it talk about the Supreme Lord? No. For him, Lord Vishnu is also one among the many devatas. Just like devatas have some services, Vishnu also has some service to maintain. That's all. For him, Vishnu is not something superior or something. Vishnu is also one among the devatas. He thought, just like I defeated Indra, I will defeat Vishnu also. What is so special about him?
Oh,
Like that only thought.
okay. Thank you.
Vena, it seems that he knew the philosophy well, because he's speaking about all the demigods. Just like Hiranyakashipu, after the death of Hiranyaksh, he speaks nicely to his wife, speaks the philosophy of the spirit and the matter.
But here also he's saying same thing, na? He is including the Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva also along with all the devatas. For them, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva are also some other devatas. They don't recognize the superior position of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So for them, they are also one among them, and they are also there in his body. So he is superior to Vishnu and Shiva and Brahma. Like that is clean now. So it is like that. Ittam vipariyamati papiyan utpatam gata anuniyamana tadyachnam nachakre brashtamangala. I will read. Kapila, just I wanted to complete with that verse where the sages will kill him. Because they need to respond, na? Having heard all these things, they can. How can a religious person can tolerate that Vishnu being disrespected? They cannot tolerate. They need to respond immediately. Thus, the sinful king, straying from the right path, intelligence lost, bereft of good fortune, though pacified by the sages, did not accept their request. Itite asatkritasте na dvija pandita manina भग्नयां भव्यजाचानां याचनायां तस्मै विदुर Chukrubhu. O Vidura, being insulted by the king, who thought himself learned and who had refused their request, the Brahmanas became angry with him. Hanyatam esha papaha prakriti daruna jivan jagat asav aso kurute basmatadruam. This sinful person should be killed. He should be killed. If he continues living, certainly this sinful person of cruel nature will quickly turn the whole world to ashes. If he is not killed, we will be killed. For our benefit, for the benefit of the kingdom, he should be killed immediately. He should be turned to ashes immediately. Nayam arhati asadvrutto naradeva purushasanam yo adiyajna patim vishnum vinindati anapatrapa. This sinful person who criticizes without shame the Lord Vishnu, the master of sacrifice, should not sit on the throne. Because since he has no respect for Lord Vishnu, he cannot be sitting on the throne for long. He should be killed immediately. Ko vainam chakshita venam ekam rute shubham prapta idrisham aishwaryam yat anugraha bhajana. Who except unfortunate Vena would criticize the Supreme Lord Vishnu, by whose mercy a person receives such wealth and power. Who except Vena would criticize Lord Vishnu, from whom he received such power and was the object of mercy. Therefore, he should be shown no mercy, and hence he should be killed immediately. Ittam vyavasitahantum rushayo ruda manyava nijagrur hunkrutervenam hatam achyutan nindaya. The sages decided to kill him, increased their anger. Ruda manyava. Previously, when they came to him, they controlled their anger. Now they brought forth their anger outward, and by incantations killed Vena, who was destroyed by criticism of the Lord. The Vena was already killed by criticizing Lord Vishnu. Now they are only instrument. They just chanted Hunkara. It is said that Hunkruter Nijagnur Hunkruter Venam. Just by chanting Hunkara, they killed Vena. They took away the life force of Vena. The sages don't to do something. They don't have to curse also. They just chanted Hunkara, with which Vena was killed. Because by disrespecting the Devatas and by disrespecting the Lord Vishnu, he already killed. He already became Prashta Bagai. He already became the most unfortunate person, and he was called just by the chanting of Hunkara. Then Prabhupada writes in the purport that by chanting Homkara mantra, people attain perfection. And by chanting Hunkara, a person can be destroyed to hell. It is a small grammatical change. So in that way.
Prabhuji, what is Hunkara? Like how we say Omkara, there is something called as Hunkara.
Hunkara is Hunkara only.
Huh?
Hunkara is Hunkara only. Just by chanting Hunkara, they killed Vena. That's all.
Because first time I'm coming across such terminology, and I've never heard also that is it is especially used for killing purpose only.
Yeah. Here the sages by chanting Hunkara, it is not just mantra, it is also their meditation. They have already meditated to kill the king, and they killed the king while chanting this mantra Hunkara, which is like their assistant, which is like the active principle to do the needful. So in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna, will stop here already 8:30. So we'll continue from there on tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. And next Saturday will be Nandostav. There will be no class. And next week we'll have class only on Sunday. Sunday, all of you can join. Next Sunday.
Next Sunday is difficult, Prabhuji, because all the extended Janmashtamis are there on Sundays. Means the small celebrations wherever.
No, but ours is afternoon only, 2 o'clock, 2 to 3. We'll have small class because Saturday anyway we don't have class. Sunday we shall have.
Saturday is none of
Saturday is Nandostav. No class on Saturday, Sunday we'll have. And
Saturday,
afterwards, one Sunday we'll have Balra, Abika, Radhashtami also coming on Sunday, week after that.
Prabhuji, next Sunday can we